And welcome into the Radio Days edition of Now and Next. This week, sitting at the round table on Moore in the Morning on News Talk 1010 Toronto.
On round one, we are joined by Tamara Cherry from Pickup Communications, Dave Trafford, Chief Executive Producer at Story Studio Network, Tim Hudak, former leader of Ontario's Conservatives. He's now at Council Public Affairs. Good morning to y'all. And you know what? Let's start with something silly and pifflingly unimportant. But I love this story out of Quebec where they've come up with new regulations about how to play on the snow in schoolyards. A mound may be no higher than 3 meters. It cannot have an angle of descent that is over 25 degrees. And there must be, and this is my favorite part, a recovery and waiting area. Tim Hudak, for those of us who used to engage in that game, actually, when it got really slippery in the schoolyard, where you'd come up behind somebody and kick their feet out from under them.
Oh, no. I mean, were you a kicker, John Moore?
Might have been. I probably got kicked a few times, too. But, I mean, this is what level of outrageousness is there, this?
Well, first of all, I think this is a great Canadian debate, right? Like, it's a snow mound, snow hill, right? Snow pile, snowbank. I don't know snow mounds. Number one, there's the key mistake they've made, John. But what a great Canadian debate. How high should the hill be? What should be the angle of incline to get up or down that hill? When do you start wearing helmets? No wonder Legault reacted this way. It is outrageous, a waste of time. You wonder the thinking of people who would spend time doing this, although it has amused us this Wednesday morning. The biggest problem here, John, right now, the Toronto District School Board, they're kicking themselves wide and saying, why didn't we think of this first?
Well, exactly. Dave Trafford, it's why I bring it up now, because I'd like to, wave off any pinhead on any school board in Ontario who's going to think about doing this.
Oh, I'm sure Paul Calandra will be all over this, John. The minister will be out there with his ruler and all that, whether it's metric or imperial. He'll have it all covered off just because the trustees cannot be trusted to deal with the height of the snowbanks around the schoolyard. This reminds me of all those memes if you were born in the 60s or you were born in the 70s on social media and the stuff that we did. I think of it now. We would go out and play ball hockey at recess, and when you went back into the school, there was a garbage can there, and when all the sticks were there. There's not a chance that you're doing that anymore. My friends at Parachute, they deal with child safety and so on. They would tell you that the issue here is the distinction between what is hazardous and what is risky, and we want our kids to have risky play. And if that's what this is, then let them do it.
And Tamara, it just boggles the mind to think that somebody actually sat down and started calculating degrees of slope, height of snow mound. And I love the recovery area.
I would love to see the dioramas of this in sketches. So when I was a kid, I know my mom is listening to this, but Ma, you already know this. My brother snowboarded off the roof of our house when my parents were out of town. So here in Saskatchewan, you got to find slopes where you can here in Saskatchewan where we can see our dogs run away for 3 days. These are recommendations, not regulations. So I don't really have a huge problem with it. What I will say, though, as a real safety tip, because this is real, there's kids that have died from this here in Saskatchewan and probably in your province as well. Don't let your kids dig holes that they can, tunnels that they can go into. Snow should never be over their head because that snow can collapse. Mom and dad might not be paying attention and it can be fatal. So I'm your Grinch, but a safety one.
There you go. Okay, so let's talk about Toronto City Council. And a motion arrives today from Brad Bradford, who obviously is running for mayor, so he's trying to garner some attention. And he wants a money-back guarantee on the TTC if it is 15 minutes out of, I don't even know how they're going to measure this, but if you're 15 minutes late, then you'll get your money back. Dave Trafford, is that going to make the TTC any more reliable? I don't know that, managers are going to go, that's it, now we're going to run on time.
Well, here's the thing, and they sent along the piece from Matt Elliott this morning, and what was remarkable, and Matt's been at City Hall a long time, and he realized, holy cow, they already keep the stats on this. They've got data that says how often and which buses and trains and streetcars, et cetera, are late, and by how much, and for what reason. We've already got the information. We seem to be doing nothing with it, period. So somebody has been hired at City Hall to collect and analyze all that data and do nothing with it, to begin with. So I'm not optimistic to start. Having said that, if we can do it and we pay attention to it, we should be making the service run better. That's the number one complaint that you hear in terms of how the experience on TTC is so lousy. So that's one thing. But, again, you go back to how do you enforce it, and Matt kind of outlines the detail of around what caused the delay. Somebody's on the subway tracks. Well, okay, then how do we manage that? That's not the TTC's fault. We've got an emergency out on the street where the streetcars can't keep moving because of one thing or another. Somebody's parked on the tracks. So there are things that are out of the control of the TTC in terms of delays. It begins to get into the same argument and discussion we have around delays for airlines and how difficult and complicated it is to get any kind of refund. Up front, I like the idea around accountability and making sure that it's counted. But holy cow, we probably end up setting up a whole new administrative infrastructure to manage this.
Well, and Tamara, when you realize how challenged the TTC is for money, it's just going to be another drain on their resources.
Well, excuse me, Matt Elliott estimated that it would cost maybe $9 million a year to refund, when they don't meet these thresholds. And that's in a $3 billion budget. But that said, imagine if this actually does give them a kick in the butt. And to be fair, and Matt points this out, a lot of the reasons for delays are out of the TTC's control, although I would argue some of them they could maybe wrangle into their control, like keeping people off the tracks, that sort of thing. But maybe if they can actually keep these times down, more people would start riding the TTC, and then ridership goes up, fares go up. And I don't know, all in all, I agree with Matt Elliott that I love that big ideas are being brought forward. And this isn't just starting off as Toronto doom and gloom, the city's so dangerous under Mayor Chow, all of that. Keep bringing those big ideas forward. And we'll be talking about it. So yay, Brad Bradford.
Yeah, all right. Tim Hudak, your thoughts?
Yeah, I vote aye on this. I mean, good for Bradford bringing this forward. It's described as a political stunt in the story. I disagree. I think, you have a job there to bring ideas forward. If you don't win the votes, you keep championing them. And you say, well, if I can't get it, then, I'll run for mayor and make that change. I like the idea. Fearless prediction, John Moore, 7:54 a.m., Wednesday, December 17th. You will see this idea migrate to the provincial level. I bet you Premier Ford, knowing the way he thinks, Minister Sarkaria, Minister of Transportation, are thinking, okay, can we do this provincially? How can we hold ourselves accountable? So Go Transit, for example.
Yeah.
You're ordering your birth certificate.
On Go Transit already.
There you go.
Yeah.
Wow, look at that. It happened to me before I predicted it. And then, if you're ordering your birth certificate, you're ordering your driver's license, they don't hit their on-time prediction. Let's hold government to account.
And Brad Bradford texting me, we lose $130 million a year to fare evasion. If the concern is about lost revenue, focus on that. All right, message received. What do we make of a survey of people where they were effectively asked, if you've been drinking, how do you know if you're ready to drive? And here are the answers. 19% said, I count drinks. 23% said, I go by how I feel. That's great. 20% said, I wait a bit and assume I'm fine. And 17% said, oh, look at that. I do not drive after drinking. Tamara?
So one glimmer of hope in this story is that apparently drinking and driving goes down during the holiday season, presumably because of all the ride checks police have all over the place. So I think that's a signal that we should have more ride checks throughout the year. I'm a huge fan of them. What I found surprising in this actually is that drivers under the age of 50 were most likely to, quote, go by how I feel. And drivers over the age of 50 were most likely to not drive if they had been drinking. As a driver who is under 50, but not too far away from it, like I grew up hearing, don't drive drunk. Don't. Like that was the thing. You don't drink and drive. Whereas drivers over 50, it was a lot more relaxed. So that surprised me that people in my generation are more likely to drink and drive, and disappointing. People it is not worth it. If you're planning on even having a drink, grab an Uber, grab the TTC, even if you're going to be 15 minutes late on it. Maybe not under Brad Bradford, but just don't.
Tim Hudak, the coverage that we're looking at for this story today is by Andrew Clark in the Globe and Mail, and it's a fairly humorous column because he writes, they should have done a survey. How do you know when to engage in a knife fight? I count knives. I go by how the knives feel.
Yeah, I'm pretty close. But unlike a knife fight, you're going to be, well, I guess it depends how you do, but you're hurting others. Look, this is progress, right? Dave Trafford did say earlier on about the memes of the 70s and 80s. The one on the list that was a cure around the Hudak or Dillon household, my mom's side of the family, was, give Uncle Joe a hot black coffee and he'll be all right to drive the Western home to London, Ontario. There is progress here. I remember, the Palmwood and Crystal Beach, they used to give us directions on how to avoid the ride checks, and they started popping up across the province of Ontario. And with Tamara, let's actually have more ride checks. I think they do work a deterrent, and they also punish bad behavior. But John, this is at least progress heading in the right direction.
Okay, and Dave Trafford, I go by how I feel, was 23%. That's one of the problems with drunk driving, is drunk drivers think they're fine.
Sure, and then that's always been the issue. I think I'm fine. I can manage this. Away you go. Two things here, though, and I agree with Tamara in terms of the stat and the demographic breakdown. That's a little bit shocking to me because, when my kids were in high school, they were the ones who kind of drove it home and said, there's no drinking and driving in this group. So that was one thing. But the other part of this is, I know we talk about the ride program. I can't remember the last time I saw a ride stop. I can't remember it's been a decade at least since I've seen them. So for all of the hype around, the ride program is out there, make sure you're not drinking and driving. I don't see them. So if the numbers are going up, then maybe we need to more than double what's already out there because they need to be way more visible.
And quick thoughts. Maybe, Tamara, you've spent time in the courts, so I'll ask you this question. The guy, a lawyer who challenged having to swear an oath to the king, has actually prevailed in court, so he won't have to swear an oath to the king.
Yeah, I mean, this oath is ridiculous. The province of Alberta, where this was argued, Alberta argued that the oath is symbolic. And exactly. So is swearing to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth also symbolic? No, it's the real deal. We should not be requiring lawyers to swear a symbolic oath in order to practice law.
Thank you all. We're at a racetrack, but my thanks too, and we never made them swear any oaths. Tim Hudak, Tamara Cherry, and Dave Trafford.
Now and next is an Eye Contact production.